And now that we've finished our 5-minute writing warm-up on, what are the benefits that our readers will get from reading our book, we're going to do a little sacred centering. So I'm going to invite you into a comfortable position. Eyes closed, exaggerate your breath. And I invite you to find your sense of center. So drop into your centrality. Orienting towards your base, feeling really the extension of yourself at the root of your being. And once you've kind of grounded or hit bottom, lifting up to the extension, the highest point that you can authentically access right now, towards top. Get a sense of your outer walls, your peripheral, even the back door of your heart. Just feel the space around your core. And expand your awareness to orient yourself towards where perhaps the ocean is in relation to where your body is, or where the mountains are. Or if you're in vast desert, just get a sense of what landscape is around you. So in relation to nature, beyond these walls, where are you on the land? And then breathe deeper into your pranic tube, central axis, like just few breaths to really concentrate your sense of center. And from this sense of center and oriented well in space and time, we invoke, evoke, and invite our allies and guides to support us on this writing journey, particularly in this blueprinting process we're in. So we're calling on our muses to support the map of our book. So this is a trans-rational process. Before we open our eyes, I want you to invoke your rational mind and even, whether it's the scientific or the spatial relations portion of your brain. And I invite you just to vision for a moment the map of your country. There's a sense of maybe a map, your favorite map that you like to look at, whether it's topographical or Google Maps, but what's the most familiar map when you think of the map of your country? And extend that to the map of the world for a moment. All the places you have been or haven't been and want to go. Just know that there's conceptual frames in the mind around maps. And finally, taking a few breaths. Intending to vision a map for your book. A map that is exciting and enticing and one that will compel you to explore the territory of your book in the coming months. Last 2 breaths, opening your eyes when you're ready. Beautiful. So I'm so excited about blueprinting because it's my experience that this teaching that you're going to get today is what like most writers don't do. You know, most writers they do their outline and then they go into writing their book. And so many of you have started your outline. Some of you have finished your outline. Some of you have thought about your outline, and that's fine. I want to really, really encourage you to know that wherever you are, that's perfect. But today we're going to give you the teachings about how to turn your outline into a blueprint. And when you get off this call, if you haven't finished your outline, you want to continue to outline and don't feel like you're behind. It's fine. That's just an important prerequisite to actually blueprinting. So in order to get present and go forward, I want to do a little self-assessment in breakout rooms, and it's going to be brief. But the idea is for you to share with your partner how many chapters you have, and how many of those chapters have been outlined. Now, our definition of an outline, whether or not you followed this formula, but the homework was to make 18 points per chapter. And so I'm curious, did you do that for 1 chapter or 10 of your chapters? Or, so kind of, and it might be, okay, there's half of them. Some of them I did, 4 points for, some I did 50 points for. That's fine. Tell your partner that, but you're basically just saying, here's where I am in my outline process so that you can self-assess and then be clear to move forward into blueprinting. And so I'm going to put us into breakout rooms, and I'm going to only give us 4 minutes. So the idea is really just 2 each. And we will see, let's see. Oh, that's not what I want. Hold on a second. Okay, so I don't want 2 rooms. I want 2 people per room. Big difference. Yeah, so go ahead and take a moment to look at your outline and get clear on how many Okay, so I may not be able to do this successfully with my skills today. Thanks for your flexibility. I'm skipping that. I'm having troubles, and we'll get more training before our next call. So self-assess, since we're not able to do breakout rooms, I'm going to just have you write down the number of chapters that you have done your outlining for. And we are going to go around the circle, because that is something I can do. And we are going to share, not that, okay? So don't tell me about your chapters. Tell me, I am the author of the name of your book, followed by what genre it is, and a rough estimate of the number of pages. And I don't need any story about that. I just want to know the working title, even if, as Linda says, that evolves, you know, in the process. And the purpose for this exercise, not just to get to know each other, is actually about stepping into authorship. It's an identity shift, and it's one that is so essential for your success in doing this. Like, I remember when I was pregnant, and I remember just feeling like I'm a pregnant woman as opposed to being like I'm a mom. And then there was a day in my pregnancy where I was like, oh, I'm the mother of Devin Echo McClure. Like, it really landed. Like, this is an inevitability. I'm now the mother of this child. And we are all pregnant. And I want you to practice, you know, saying that. I'm Kamala Devi. I'm the co-author of Art of Relationship Mastery. My book is about it's about 275 pages. Thank you. That's all we need. So who wants to, well, I'm just going to call your names around the circle, starting with Tracy.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Tracy and I'm in Jerusalem. So the working progress of the name of my book is Modern Day Megillat Esther, and I'm actually taking the book of Esther from the Bible, from the Torah, and I'm using that as a base.
Pause for a minute. Since you're going first, I'm going to kind of coach you. I want to hear the title, the genre, which is just, you know, what category the book is, fiction, nonfiction, adventure story, just the genre. And I didn't do that. So that's why we're using you as an example, followed by the page number.
Okay. So Modern Day Megillat Esther, I think it's trilogy, memoir, Mind, Body, Spirit. I'm not sure yet. And I think it's going to be about 300 pages.
Woohoo! Thank you. Dave Duntier.
Oh, me? Yeah, I'm the author of Devotion to Akua, How I Loved My Twin Flame into Life and uncovered the long-forgotten code of the Way of the Magi. It's spiritual self-help and new thought, and 220 pages.
Woohoo! Thank you. Michael.
So I'm Michael, and this is one of those examples where someone stole my title, because I have the same title as Kamala Devi, The Art of Relationship Mastery, just coincidentally. It's a self-help book, and it's about 300. I'm sorry, about 275 pages.
Thank you. Excellent. Linda.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm pulling blank. I have a little bit of a headache. 30 Days to Unconditional Confidence, Daily Spiritual Practices for Developing Personal and Professional Confidence. And it'll be 300 pages.
Beautiful. And I just want you to add the part that says, I'm Linda White and I'm the author of.
Oh, sorry. I'm Linda White and I'm the author of 30 Days to Unconditional Confidence.
Woohoo! Thank you. Beautiful. William. I'm not hearing you. Oh.
I had to open it on my end.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to you, William.
William, you have to unmute.
We have to unmute, and I'm not able. Okay, so we're going to come back.
Hello.
There you are. Yay.
Hi. My name's William Stanley, and I'm the author of The Kairos Epiphany. It's a speculative fiction idea kind of book. It's about 22 chapters and 200 to 300 pages long.
Woohoo.
I'm trying anyway.
Great. Good. Excuse me. Brianna. Oh, she's not on right now. How about Taina? We'll come back to you, Brianna.
I am Taina Ishel Hordacid, and I'm the author of The Lotus Flower, A Modern Mystic's Guide to Love and Freedom. It's a spiritual self-help and memoir book, about 150 to 200 pages.
Woohoo. Beautiful. I love the title. Okay, Brianna. And then we'll go to Christiane and Francoise.
Can you circle back to me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Christiane.
So my name is Christiana Meyer, and the title of my book is Lost Priestess, Yoni Wisdom for Modern Day Women. It has around 250 pages, and it's I think women's personal spiritual growth, but it could be also something like memoirs. So yeah, I'm a bit unclear about that.
Okay, thank you. Good. Woo! Francoise. Oh, hold on. We need to unmute you as well. Can't hear.
I'm Françoise. I'm the author of Tantra 101 You Can Try Tonight.
Woohoo!
10 chapters, 150 pages, self-help sexuality.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm so excited. Good. And next we have Jim, Diane, and then Leanna.
Hi, I'm Jim Adams. I'm the author of Our Search to Understand Our Place in Space Through the Stories I've Told. And it's a nonfiction, about 200 to 250 pages.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Diane Sargent, and I am the author of Burn That Shit, the practice of burn journaling to let go, move on, and manifest the life you want.
Yeah.
About 150 pages, and it's self-improvement.
Excellent. I love the visual aid as well. Good.
My name is Leanna Walden. I'm the author of The Sex of Truth. It's turning into sort of a creative nonfiction. And it's going to be 250, 280 pages.
Woohoo. Beautiful. So as we continue, I just want you to notice what's happening as people are declaring, I'm the author of, and you're like, wow, I'm in this circle of authors, and I'm, you know, these are my peers. So we're going to go on to Alexandra, and then Narcisse and Jennifer.
My name is Alexandra, and I'm the author of Sensually Wild, Quenching the Thirst for Juicy Awake and Soulful Life. And it's self-help, new age, sacred sexuality, 233 pages.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Narcisse, and I'm the author of My Voice, Calling Women Lead to Build an Orgasmic World. It's a memoir combining a bit of self-help, and it's 240 pages. That's it.
Great.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Harmony, and I'm the author of The Lotus Journey. It's a memoir and about 300 pages.
Beautiful. Good. I've got Kadesh, Amanda, and Liz.
Hi, I'm Kadesh. I'm the author of The Original Tao, Messages from the Yellow Emperor. It's probably a spiritual reference book, about 127 pages.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I am Amanda Ananda, and I am the author of The Tantric Mama's Sensual Cookbook, A Woman's Guide to Reclaiming Her Power, Wisdom, and Pleasure. It's a self-help new age cookbook, and probably about 200 to 300, depending on pictures, I guess.
Woohoo.
Words, probably 200.
Oh, my mouth is watering. Excellent. My name is Elizabeth Morris, and I'm the author of Dark Soul, A Story of Reconnection. It's a memoir, and it's 125 pages. Mm-hmm. Good. And so next we're going to go to Dana. Let's do Wendy and Elena.
Hello, I'm Dana Humphrey, and I'm the author of Codependency and Pets. It's 180 pages, and the genre is self-help and pets.
Thank you. Great. So Wendy, great.
I'm Gwyneth Gorshinsky-Lambo, and I'm the author of On the Edge and Crooked, Outrageous Things Are Not What They Seem, hosted by the Association of Children of Weird Mothers. It's a memoir. It's under parenting and spirituality, and it will be 200 pages.
Beautiful. So before we go on, I learned this in my Zoom class, and I wanted to tell everyone this, which is if you go to your own video and then up to the right-hand corner, there's a ... Gwendith, if you do that and you scroll down, it says rename. You can actually rename yourself as Gwendith instead of Wendy when you come on to Zoom calls.
Thank you, because I've been trying to figure out how to do that.
I found that out just for you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. And next, I think we said Daphne. I'm not sure if you're with us.
I'm with you, but I'm going to opt out for today.
Okay.
I put a note in the messages. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I have a few people that are also wanting to just, audit the class. We have a few people this week that, dropped out of the class, which is, perfectly fine. We're all seeing what we're capable, what's appropriate, what we're called to do. And I really want to respect and honor everyone's on, right where they need to be. And then because I have a messy mishmash of gallery view, I don't know who I haven't called on. So go ahead and speak up now. I've got Adam.
I'll speak. This is Ilana,
Okay.
and is that okay?
Yeah, Ilana, go for it.
Cool. So I'm Ilana, and I'm the author of Healing Rape with Love, a cross-cultural journey of healing trauma in Israel, Palestine. It's a memoir and spirituality, and about 200 pages.
Beautiful, thank you. Adam.
Unmute, yeah. Hi, my name is Adam. I'm the author of Gringo Larry's Seaside Cantina. It is a fiction hero's journey, a collection of vignettes that are more or less related to each other and inspired heavily by the style of Richard Brautigan. planning on about 150 pages.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then we've got anyone else? Oh, Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna.
Yeah.
Thanks. My name is Brianna Krabire, and I am the author of The Art of Receiving, working subtitle Learning from Our Bodies. It is 200 pages and in the genre of self-help and personal development.
Beautiful. Okay, I believe that's everybody.
And me.
Oh, Kali, yes.
Sorry, I keep getting dropped off the Zoom, so apologies. I'm Kali Satyagraha, and my book is entitled Lost and Profound. It is the magic and medicine of healing painful polarity through unity consciousness. And it is a woman's interest self-help nonfiction book. 400 pages, I reckon.
Beautiful. Thank you. Good. Last call if I missed anyone. Great. So we're going to dive into a metaphor. My this parable for this blueprinting is traveling, right? So in our meditation, we were kind of feeling where we are on the map. And, you know, I love that we just heard from Kali about lost and profound. We know how amazing it is to be wandering and not know where we're going. And a lot of us love, as writers, to journal and to be like, I don't know where this is going. I'm just going to see where it takes me, and to just journal and journal. And what's important for us to get as authors, so the distinction between being writers and being authors is that as a writer, you can journal all the time and follow the thread and go where you want to go and get lost. But as an author, you actually want to step out of being a wanderer and being into a tour guide. And what a tour guide means is I'm going to take my readers on a journey. And the readers count on us to know where we're going. The readers want us to be their guides who've actually are intimate with the terrain and the territory and can actually support them, you know, on their path. And for that reason, it's important that we have a map, that we know where we're going. Because for those of us who in the pantser or plotter polemic, right? Those, this next 3 weeks, like this last week plus the next 2 weeks are all about plotting. We're planning, we're plotting, we're building the map. And there are people on this course who are like, you know, I'm not a plotter. I'm the kind of flow person. And I want to say that's awesome. I'm not trying to change your style. I'm just inviting you to take that flow and work on the map as deeply as you can. But from my heart, in all honesty, if you try or not try or fail or just can't resist, after 3 weeks, so when we meet this time next, you know, 2 weeks from now, if you show up and you're like, I have nothing, I have no outline, I have no blueprint, I wasn't able to do it, I want to totally forgive you and say, all right, great, you're going to start writing your book, and you can still write your book in 90 days with no blueprint, with no map. The difference, however, and this is where I'm going to urge everyone to make the most of the next 2 weeks, is that when we map, the time that we spend mapping, the next 2 weeks, like last week outlining plus the next 2 weeks of blueprinting, the time that we spend plotting has been proven to radically reduce the amount of time that you spend in the actual writing. So from my perspective, you may easily be able to finish the page count in 90 days of just like, I'm just going to write and fill in the page count. But that doesn't mean you have a book, because of the way that it will have to be rewritten to find the organization. Whereas if you do the organization first and then do the writing, then there's a whole hell of a lot of time spent, time saved. So I've heard it said that it's about 5 times the time saved. So in other words, the return on investment, the time you spent planning, blueprinting, outlining, plotting, that time spent will save you 1 hour spent planning will save you 5 hours in the field. So that's a 500 time return on your investment. That's enormous, and it's so valuable. So I really want to invite you to, as laborious as it is for me to be like, now you have to find these 18 points, now you have to do this, we're going to give you 3 steps today. And those 3 steps are time-saving tools, and it's well worth the sweat labor to do this. So with that, I want to review last week, whether or not you created 18 points per chapter. You're going to be doing that as an outline. Now, what makes a difference between an outline and a blueprint, because most writers don't do this, but I'm going to give you this technology, and it is, it's so, like, it's intricate, but it's so intimate to how the human brain works and what will open us up as channels. So what the technology is like a multi-step process. I'm today only going to give you 3 steps, and then after this week, you're going to, listen to the audio. And like I said, the audio's got, like the old class, you just forward past, you can, work with it so that you get the content. Actually, the audio will give you the next 2 steps to the blueprinting next week. And then, and I might add a video, but the point is, when we meet in 2 weeks, you ideally will have a blueprint. No, you will ideally have a blueprint and be able to start, writing your book from that blueprint. So I'm going to look at my notes. Okay, so here's what I want to start with, which is the instructions. Yeah, I want to bow to the particular teacher who I got this method from. And as you know, I'm very eclectic and pull from lots of different sources. And this teacher is someone that gets a lot of heat. He's kind of considered a scam, or it's like most authors are like, it's so irrational that you could write a book in 14 days, because Steve Manning wrote a manual called How to Write a Book in 14 Days, and it pissed everyone off. And yet he was like the source from which, whether he developed it or not, is debatable, but he's a source from which I learned the blueprinting process. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and the controversy of it up, is that because it's so transrational, because it's like people are like, it's not possible. I want to acknowledge that it is absolutely possible to write a book in 14 days. It's not probable, like it's not like sustainable. It's not the healthiest way to write. And that's part of why I'm teaching it in 90 days, is like, I want you to have healthy eating habits. I want you to have like a grounded way to continue to be a writer without burning out. But there are certain writing teachers that will say like, like, who cares about your diet or your sleep? Like, this is how you do it. And so I'm saying I'm taking his method step by step from what I know works. And so the practice that we're going to do right now is the first 3 steps. And that involves taking, let's take one chapter of your book, first, but you're going to do this for every chapter, one chapter, and you're going to take the 18 points. Now, I know some of you, those 18 points, one of those points might be a little word. Another point might be 3 paragraphs. Another point might be, you know, a quote. And I'm going to ask you to actually upgrade your outline so that 18 points are actually statements, like just sentences. That's the definition of the outline. So you're going to go back and make sure that your outline is one chapter with 18 sentences or phrases. Okay. Now, once that's complete, then the first step of blueprinting is that you want to make them into a significant statement. The second, and I'm going to tell you what that means in a minute, but the second point is that you're going to actually cut 3 of those 18 points so that you will have 15 points. And then the third is that you are going to organize those points so that they are actually in the best order. So 18 points are progressively in the best order. All right, let's go over that again. First step is 18 points in making them into a significant statement. Now, what does it mean to do a significant statement? I'm going to give you an example. If I were writing a book about, you know, one of my books is about polyamory, and there's a chapter in it called Love Styles, and I posted for example, the different bullet points of my outline. To make it into one of the points is single and dating. The next point is married. Now, if I were to take that point, single and dating, and make it into a significant statement, I would say, what's significant about this note, single and dating? What's significant, right? And I'd think about it and say, well, we all have a set of expectations and rules about the norm of being single and dating. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. So that's a significant statement. All right. If I just put the word married, well, what's significant about that? Marriage is like a cult, like within the social institution. You know, that's the significant statement I want to make. And so it's not trying to say everything you know about that thing. It's like, what's the central point? What's the significance of that point? And so you're just making one statement with the significance. Okay. That's the first step of blueprinting. You want to do that for every point. So you're going to have 18 significant statements for your entire book. Step 2 is you're going to cut the 18 down to 15. And you're probably going, what? Like, why did you tell me to write 18 if you want me to have 15? And I'm telling you that this process of cutting is actually a skill. It's an important discernment that we as authors and writers need to learn. And we need to learn it early, like in even the planning phase, because that critical skill will make all the difference in the quality of your writing. Like, nothing's going to turn your readers off faster than having redundancy or unimportant facts or, you know, saying similar things in different ways. So once you have 18 statements, you can be able to say, what are the best 15? Let me throw out these 3. Okay. So you're going to do that for every chapter. You're going to throw out 3 of those statements. First, you want to turn them into statements. Don't just cut out the points. Make them into statements and then cut out the, you know, least exciting 3 statements. Now, you will hear writer teachers teaching say, never throw away anything that you cut. And that's a valid teaching. I actually operate from that teaching. There's also writing teachers that say, cut, cut, cut. And if it's important, it'll come back to you. And that's a valid teaching too. But what I'm going to recommend that you do, if you want to never throw out anything you cut, is to create a separate file called scraps, the document, wherein you put all your miscarriages, your orphans, your ideas, your quotes, your whatever you're not going to use. Like, scraps is where everything that is not your blueprint and is related to your book can go. So it could very well be that those are scraps you're going to use later. and some people don't even like calling it scraps. They get saying, here's my palette, and I'll pull those things in later to make a mosaic. Fine. But your blueprint is going to be one document that really just has the number of chapters you have, 18 significant statements, which you then cut down to 15 significant statements. And then the final step, 3 of your blueprinting process this week, is you're going to take those statements and you're going to put them in the best order. Now, what's the best order? So if you're writing nonfiction, there's like an internal logic of, as tour guides, how we're going to progressively lay out an argument or a journey that we're taking someone on. So we want to kind of go with that logic that makes sense for us. Now, there's no right answer because somebody else might do it differently. But generally speaking, you want to start with the most important point, or you want to start with, here's the problem we're going to solve. And you want to keep people really, engaged and have them follow you. And by the way, this is really important because when you're taking people on a journey, you don't want to bore them with too much details. So part of the reason in the last step, we took out 2 of the points is because you want to give the reader 2 + 2. You don't want to give the reader 4. What I mean is that's a quote, that's an anonymous quote. And the reason that is a writing quote is because too many immature authors will try to hit their reader over the head with a 2x4. They'll just try to be like, here's the obvious, let me show you how much I know, let me tell you everything. And as a reader, you're like, dude, this is so, it's didactic, it's too much, you're telling me too much. I want to have to work as a reader to think, to imagine. And this is why mystery stories are so compelling. Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code was a huge bestseller because it got people guessing and thinking and trying to figure out the code. But you as the author, when you take out those 2 points and throw them away, it's because you're giving them, you're not giving them everything too obvious. So I'm telling you this because on the 3rd step, when you start to create the arc of the chapter and you start to put it in the order, you want to take them on a journey, but you don't want to spoon feed just everything to your reader. Think about what is it that the reader needs to know to go on this journey. So that's for nonfiction. But fiction, I want to say, and by the way, if you're doing memoirs or you're doing storytelling, even nonfiction has storytelling, it's really important to understand the craft of storytelling. And the best thing to say about it is that you already understand it. Every movie you've been to, every book you've already read, it's in your being, because society's, constantly, that's how humanity survives, is by storytelling. So we know the basics of storytelling. And if you want to think of it critically and understand it, I recommend you study Joseph Campbell's basic teachings on storytelling, or watch some YouTube videos. I'm going to give you a quote that's really fun. It's basically Act 1, you get the character up a tree. Act 2, you throw rocks at your character. And Act 3, the character gets down. Right? So a story has the challenge and then they solve the problem. And the higher the challenge, the more stakes, the more compelling the story is. And you can, when you're creating the order of your chapter, you don't want to actually have them get down from the tree and then there's no stakes before there's actually a problem to solve, right? So your main character, or you, in the case of those of you writing nonfiction, have to want something and they have to have an obstacle. And the motive that they're wanting drives them. It drives them into drama. And you provide some solutions so that there's a big payoff in the end. And that's the essence of how you organize the points. And it's going to make sense to you. It's going to have a flow to you. So that yeah, that process, those are the 3 steps of blueprinting. And then the final 2 steps we'll cover in the next class. I want to open it up to certain questions and maybe work a little bit on how this applies to your book. And I know we had a couple of questions on Facebook that came in that I want to address as well. So looking at the whole class, who has first a question about blueprinting? I see Dave's hand. Go ahead. Is there anyone, before I answer Dave, is there anyone else? Question about blueprinting or what I've shared? And Alexandra? Okay, Dave, go ahead.
So what seems fundamental for me that I'm trying to answer is I could easily do a memoir, but I've not read any. I've only read Adventure Quest. That's what I would like to do. And it's looking more like what I'm doing is a memoir. I heard a lot of people saying they're doing a memoir, and I just read some advice in different places that pretty much, for me, because I have not read any of this genre of memoir, but I have Adventure Quest to really just do that. And so I don't even know blueprinting. It seems that a lot of the blueprinting, there's a premise of really what kind of thing am I doing, a memoir or an Adventure Quest? They are quite different.
Okay, yeah. So, this, we're such a unique group, and it's so important that we, stay true to what is the true like guidance, in a sense, as okay, I'm going to give you the stock advice, but then I'm going to say, because of the uniqueness of this group, it's really important that we listen to what's true, as opposed, it's like, as opposed to the 101, right? You want to kind of tailor it. The 101 advice is this. If this is your first book, don't write a memoir. And anyone whose first book is a memoir, it becomes a trap, because not only are you trying to learn the form, learn the craft, tell the story, but you're now in the quicksand of your own personal resistance. You're faced with how you're going to be seen. You're faced with your own blind spots and shadows, because anybody who's writing even your adventure story, your main character is going to have the same blind spots that you have as an author, right? But then when you're writing a memoir, you don't even see, the work and then there's the personal, like, you put it out there, your first book, and it's like you're putting yourself out there. And so it's just 10 times harder to write a memoir as it is to write anything else, not only because of, it's just so fucking ego confronting. And there's a very good chance that you'll go through the writing process and hit a psychological existential crisis. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm having this crisis, and I'm writing this book, and I'm, and so having said all that, this is a very spiritually advanced group. There's lots of teachers and healers here. We all have a lot of really rich, beautiful, worthwhile stories to tell. And I invite you to take that advice to heart and then listen what's true for you. Now, the truth is, as much as the writing instruction is to write what you know, writing fantasy and fiction, and it frees us up in ways that allows us to flow in 90 days, whereas writing about our truth can feel a lot like, as you get to the marathon in the middle, you can really get hit and stuck with kind of integrity or personal growth issues. Or so having made that, I suggest, and this is for Taina, for you, for, a handful of others who are like even the cookbook that has, the potential of being memoirs, like, I suggest you do the blueprinting as if you're doing it, but be open to, in the blueprinting process, like, this is a time to really get to know your material, get to know your book, get to know if you want to change it. Somebody asked in the class, like, what about protecting the names of the innocent and all of that? And I said, look, when you're writing your rough draft, you got to kill your audience and just write. And when you're writing your blueprint, you don't need to worry about like page or word count and, you know, all the details of the final product. You just need to be like in the exploratory process. So let the next 2 weeks help inform you about the genre that's really going to help you flow. Okay, so stay in the question in the next 2 weeks as you do the work.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Unfortunately, I've written 5 how-to books, so whether it's a memoir or an adventure quest is very outside any experience I've had, but I've certainly read a lot. They're my favorite.
Great, good. Okay, sweet. Other question was from Alexandra.
Yeah, my question was again about the word count. Like it just seems like so little for a chapter, or
so hold on. Thank you for asking this, because there's other people in the class that are in this conversation. I want everyone to know that the general kind of industry standard is between 250 and 300 words per page, right? And I would divorce yourself from too much thought about this at this stage, because we're just really trying to shape the book. But when we think each chapter is roughly 10 pages, then what we're looking at is these 18 points, and everything we write is going to be between 250 and 300, 2,500 and 3,000 words per chapter. Okay. And so if you look at the 5-minute, how much you produced in that 5-minute chunk, like, you will get a sense, you know, we'll do some math later, because you'll start getting a sense of how many pages you write per hour, which is different for all kinds of authors. And all of it doesn't matter. All of it doesn't matter, because we're in the rough draft stages. And the reality is we have to way overwrite and then cut back in order to have a polished product. So when we're looking at the outlining process and we're trying to figure out how many words, it's like that's just a trap. You can't think in word count when you're just trying to generate, because ultimately, you know, if you're Mark Twain, he talks about an easy write or an easy read, which is elegant and essential, is a hard write. It means that you've overwritten and you've cut back. So don't think about word count at this stage. Just think in terms of a general, what are the most 18 significant points per chapter? And then really even cutting that, what's the most important, significant 15 points per chapter? Okay. Good. Diane.
So going with that same subject, my outline is 6-7 chapters max, I'm really happy with that outline.
Great.
And when I try and extend it into 12 to 18 chapters, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
So should I just sort of, should I just understand that I'm probably writing a booklet, or?
No. So no, I would, maybe. Okay. So like, I want everyone to know that it could be that you do all this and you realize, wow, you know, and by the way, a booklet is anything under 50,000 words. Okay. And then, you know, beyond 50,000 words is actually considered a novel or a book. Okay. Now, if I had an elegant breakdown of 7 chapters, which by the way, I've also worked with someone who did 29-day program and they had 29 chapters, you know, it's like, hey, sometimes the concept of the book has its number. And if I said, okay, there's 7 chapters and I want it to be a 300-page book, I would do the math and know that each of my chapters is going to have not 18 points, but maybe it's 25 points and I cut it down to 22.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I do give you permission, especially you who has already been through this process and been working with your book before. But for those of you who don't have Diana's like pre-work time, then I would suggest you try this formula and at the end of 3 weeks be like, okay, now I need to adjust because I did all the work. This work is not wasted. It's working, getting to know intimately and playing with the clay, you know, on the wheel before shaping the pottery.
Okay, yeah, because my table of contents does feel very elegant to me. Like I love that word. So I'll work with maybe expanding to 20 to 22 points and see if that works.
Yeah, and it is important ultimately that you guys tailor to what your book commands, because if you're writing a cookbook, this is not the formula for a cookbook. You know, if you're writing a children's book, this is not the formula. But learn this formula, play with it in your book, get from it what is going to serve you, instead of just throwing the instruction out because it doesn't fit you. Yeah. Next question. William.
Okay, I think I unmuted here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
My question is more like perspective. I tend to be falling into two separate voices. One that wants to narrate it like a narrator, and another voice that's very strongly attached to a character that I guess is going to be my main character. I'm not sure if this is a question or not, but should I just go with whatever voice is happening so that I don't block my process because I have a really big critic?
Good, great question. So, William, your genre again is, I know you're in the question mark, but it's, because a POV question is generally about storytelling. So you're not doing fiction, you're doing, what's your genre?
Well, it's trying to turn it into a fiction book. It has a lot of philosophical backdrop, and it could be written as a nonfiction, but something keeps coming through that wants to write a fiction book.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. So point of view fiction. Now I want, I do recommend that you look into point of view, but not necessarily at this stage of blueprinting. You can blueprint your entire book without knowing whose voice the book's going to be in. But you may notice, oh wow, there's going to be scenes where it's just that character. And of course, those scenes have to come through either an omniscient voice or through that character. And even that decision doesn't have to be made until 2 weeks from now. So, you know, I understand if you're journaling a lot or you're waking up inspired and you're writing stuff, great, write all those down or keep those written. But I just, you know, I turned a book into my editor, my publisher, just last year, and I had 2 different voices in the book, and the publisher said not only that they wanted 3 voices, they wanted a separate, a different voice, but they said to me, and I want you to change this voice to this, you know, these chapters to this voice. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? And it was really valuable for me to get that in the rewriting phase. You can change all of that. And what the book ultimately became was, you know, it's an evolution. So the voice at this stage is go with where you're inspired, knowing that you can do that. But ideally you plot it out first, and then you look at this is the question, what's the best voice to tell this story, knowing where I'm going. And the beauty of these next couple of weeks is always looking at where am I going, because then we can design and lead towards that. Good.
Well, Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming to the end of our class, but I think I saw Jennifer's hand up. Was there anyone else? And Linda. Jennifer.
Hi. So yeah, I wrote in the Facebook group how this whole other book and concept just started to like pour through me, and it's all about reprogramming the mind and the subconscious, which is the work that I do. And it could somehow be woven in. My book's already looking to be 300 pages, so I feel like it's a whole other thing. It doesn't feel possible to just not write that as it's coming through so strongly, but any guidance that you have about how to deal with like sort of opening the channel and just like being flooded, because it's left me feeling a bit frazzled with the number of hours that I'm doing, because then I still did my 10 hours on this despite doing like 10, 15 hours on that.
I'm so inspired by how inspired you are. Thank you for, generating that Shakti. And yeah, this is something that's going to happen to every one of us on the class at some point in the journey. At some point in the journey, a other book is going to come through and start knocking on your door and start tapping you on the shoulder and saying, write me, and it is because, it's like we open this channel and then like sometimes you're, and then you're very magnetic for what wants to come through. And so I love that you had the bandwidth and the availability to say, okay, I'm going to do both, and I'm going to do this in a committed way. Because my understanding of the new book that's coming in is that you're not blueprinting or outlining, you're just flowing with that, right? Yeah. Okay. So everybody's in this class for, you're going to get value out of this class and learning it. So I'm going to invite you to continue to do the structure with this book. And if during next couple of weeks that other energy comes through, fine, give it, once you've finished your blueprint for this book, then you can like listen to what wants to come through. And also, if you're done with your blueprint and that other book is more alive, you can set your blueprint on the shelf. And this is for everyone to know, these blueprints, what's amazing about maps is you can actually pick them up later and pick up where you left off, which is very different, by the way, than a outline. Most authors who write an outline, it's because they were inspired, then they pick it up later and like, what was I thinking? And it doesn't have the kind of like compelling map out of what needs to be written. By the end of next week, when we're all done with our blueprints, and I say all done, some of us will continue blueprinting, but ideally, the kind of map that you will have created is the kind that is, when you go to Disneyland and you open it and there's like either a pop-up or a scratch and sniff, or like it has big pictures or a compelling map that really excites you. Google Maps is the same, where you get to zoom around. It's that kind of interactive map that almost makes the book want to write itself. We don't get that from outlines. So for everybody who has another book that's coming through, feel free to have another document where you can make notes or say, okay, ideas for later, but then commit yourself to doing this process in the timelines that we suggest, and then come back to that later. And Jennifer, stay honest and keep checking in, because if this jumps in and says, I want to be blueprinted, maybe you should blueprint that book, we'll see.
Awesome. Thanks very much, love.
Sure. Okay, I thought we had one last hand. But good, Linda.
Okay, so mine's actually turning into, instead of just these teachings for confidence, as I started working on my outline, it really wants me sharing my story. And I like the idea of the structure. I need structure. because I'm doing what Jennifer's doing. I'm having parts that's going, oh my God, this is so inspiring. And it's just coming through. But I'm also getting from that, the 18 points I think will help me organize that. My question is, my book's sort of broken up, like there's the beginning parts, which is going to my story. Then there's a part that is their what they need to know and understand in order to get value to work, instructions. Like there's 4 sections. And the last part is the process that is, you know, their daily higher truth, the teaching that goes with the daily, the guided visualization that goes with it. So that's like 30 pieces. Do I treat each day with 18 points? Because that would be too much. I'm trying to keep those short lessons.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing, though, I'm not just teaching the lesson, I'm also sharing, it's more like, here's how and when I had this breakthrough and I learned this and how it's, you know, how to apply it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you have 4 parts to your book.
Yeah.
And the book has a 30-day structure, 30-day as, and that the 30 days is one of those points, right?
Say that again.
If there's 4 parts, 30 days is one of those parts, the 30 day part. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I would similarly say, and then your book, the size that you want the book to be,
it seems to be about 300.
Great. So then what I would do is, you know, is it's not necessarily going to be an equal division in those 4 parts. Your 30-day part's going to be much fatter than the other 3. And so look at that and be like, okay, if it's 30 days, how many pages per day? You know, okay, great. I've got, if it's 3 pages per day, I've got, you know, 90 pages of that. And then what's left over with the others. So just do a little bit of like creative math and then adjust your points accordingly.
Okay, thanks.
Great, yeah. Anything else? Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to review the homework, and then next week before we meet, you're gonna listen to an additional, next week, you're gonna listen to an audio on the last 2 steps of blueprinting, which are really juicy and exciting. And if for some reason, before the week is through, you get all the way done with these first 3 steps of blueprinting, which would be a miracle, then you can go ahead and listen to that sooner. But even if you don't finish these 3 steps and you're still working on your blueprinting, you know, next week, listen to this audio. Now, the homework for this week is somewhere on my desktop. And I was so ambitious after this Zoom training call that I was like wanting to actually screen share it, but it's asking a lot of me. I'm going to challenge myself right now. Give me 1 second. Share desktop? Can you see my desktop by chance? Yay! So we're going to continue outlining every chapter of your book with 18 points. And then you're going to add answer to, like, what problem are you solving? We already wrote that 5-minute chunk. So I'm adjusting this a little bit to what is my reader going to get out of reading the book. So let's adjust this. And you can post that on Facebook, or you can just keep it in your notes. That's not as important. The important thing is that you you start the blueprint by cutting 3 items from each chapter. Hold on. Yeah, from your 18 points, you cut the items. Sorry, so these are not in the same order that I'm asking you to do that. And that's because I need to rewrite this. You need to make a significant statement for each of the items. First of all, that's step 1 of blueprinting. Then go back to step 3, which is cutting 3 items. That'll be step 2. And now double check that they're in the best order, or rearrange the order. Okay. In addition to that, you're going to make a connection with your accountability buddy. And I need to get you back. This is the challenge. Can I see you? Stop share. Look at that. You got to see how messy my desktop was. I will have Michael put you into triads this next 2 weeks. So you're going to have multiple accountability buddies, and you want to check in with each other in ways that work for, you create your own culture. You do that in your own way. But my parting words for you are that this blueprint is it's almost like a sacred map. If you think about Indiana Jones and one of these big adventures, and like you need a map to go find the treasure, right? Like there's immense treasure and transformation that's possible in this book, but you can't get to it without the map to get to it. And that's what you're playing with these next couple of weeks, is you're mapping and charting it all out. So with that, I send lots of blessings in your process, and call on your peers for support. And I look forward to connecting with you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, dear.
Bye.
Thank you.
Blessings, blessings.